Hello. So it's cold outside. It's like negative figures out there. So I thought I'd do a nice little winter post, which is going to be all about the books I've read this year. Some of them sort of bled into last year as well, but I thought it'd be really nice to share with you what I've read, why, and go through each book, you know, just with a little brief synopsis. I do read a hell of a lot. I think it's part of my background as an engineer or software guy. You know, you just have to keep up with technology, but I am actually a really avid reader. I get through 40 or 50 books a year, probably somewhere in the region of like that. Yeah, I think the last couple of years, a large proportion of that has been taken up with sailing books. So without any further ado, we're going to go into the category of what were the first things I read. So obviously I had a mirror dinghy, and I actually sought this book, and it's called Sailing the Mirror by Roy Partridge. It's an eBay find. I don't think these are in print anymore, and it's like learning to sail, but using the mirror as an example. And as you see, there's actually a picture of the mirror on the front there. Great little book, taught me quite a lot. Very basic, does the job, and it's very relevant, especially if you've got mirror dinghies. So that's a book that will forever hold a sort of place in my heart, really, because it's where it all began. I then moved on. I read these. These are both by Ken Duxbury. This one in particular, this is sort of like quite an easy read. It's kind of like a little bit of a storybook, but also teaches you stuff. A bit more complicated, talks about tides a little bit, knots, things like that. So that was another little enjoyable read, taught me quite a bit. And then this book is Ken Duxbury's, you know, basics of sailing, a little bit more technical. You can see it's got like knots in there, and it's got all kinds of stuff. These three books, what I would say, they all overlap quite significantly. So that's where I kind of started off from. I then moved on to this and this book. So I'll show you this one, another Ken Duxbury book. This one was actually what I started reading before I started my day skipper. It was kind of, you hear about it a lot, this book, but it is a little bit outdated. So it does ask you to buy charts and things like that, but the book's so old now that the charts are so out of date that you can only take this book so far. I would say it's a bit of a tough read. I wouldn't really recommend it now. I think there's a lot better out there that you could spend your money on. But I did search for this. It's another eBay second-hand one. And you know, anything's worth reading, but you can only read about a third of it. This is probably my #1 read. It goes everywhere with me, and this is The Dinghy Cruising Companion by Roger Barnes. And Roger's got a really lovely YouTube channel, and he's also the president of the Dinghy Cruising Association. There's a new version of this book now. So this one I think it was 2021, or was it 2014 but reprinted 2020? I think there is a new version of it now, but everything in here is relevant. It's really relevant to dinghies, and it has quite a lot of stuff in it, from some little stories to little reviews of certain boats, as you can see there, you know, and then, you know, loads of information on how to use anchors. And it's actually, I would call this book quite practical. So it's not as theoretical. It just says, look, if you're in a dinghy, this is how you can anchor with 2 anchors, you know. This is how you can, you know, work out tides a little bit better, you know. So I love this book, and it goes everywhere with me because I'm always referring to it. So those are, yeah, they're largely the the books I started with. This category is, this is the fiction category. So the next category is the fiction category. And these are just storybooks or, you know, documentaries, just enjoyable books that you can read. And the first one of those is this one, The Minimum Boat by Sam Llewellyn, obviously a fairly well-known name in the sailing circles. This is just a very, very humorous take on a load of sailing subjects. It's a very quick read, you know, like this one talks about the rig, it's about 3 pages on each subject, engine, and it's just a really humorous read. You know, if you wanted to take a little book away for a weekend on your boat, then, you know, and have just a really easy to read thing that's quite a happy read, that's really good. I'd recommend it. The next one I read actually was this one, Ming Ming. You've probably seen me on my channel. I have a photo or a video of me reading this book on Mocking Day. And this is actually about a guy called Roger Taylor, and he does some epic journeys. He does have a YouTube channel. You can still watch a lot of his old videos. They're all kind of like 480 by 640, but he, you know, and I don't think he's posted recently. He's had 2 boats, highly customized. One was a Corrie, and I forget what the other one was. He's sailed in crazy conditions to crazy places, you know, like Iceland and to the Arctic Circle, things like that. Really amazing book, and it really, in many ways, made me want to aim for the same sort of thing, rather than, you know, sailing to the Bermuda or Bahamas. I actually want to sail to Iceland and the Arctic Circle or Greenland, things like that, and this is probably largely responsible for that. Another one is this one, Sailing Just for Fun. Again, just the life and times, largely around, I think, the Thames estuary. It's just the life and times of a guy in a boat, and, you know, how, you know, what he did, some little sticky situations he got in, and, you know, it's just quite an enjoyable book that was to read. You know, it also goes into, yes, I remember this now, also gives you some little tricks of the trade, you know, so you learn a little bit from this book, as well as, you know, it's a fun read. The next book I read was this one, Jack the Crow. This is an amazing book, really. This guy just, I think he left university and kind of came across an old mirror dinghy, spent like an hour doing it up, and then rode the thing all the way down the rivers, all the way out the Thames, across the, sailed it across the Channel, and then all the way out to the Black Sea eventually. And it's kind of, I have to pinch myself thinking, really, he did all that? Had very little experience, you know, probably not the world's greatest advert for, you know, doing things safely, but it's a brilliant book, and I'd thoroughly recommend that. I really enjoyed reading that book. And then this book, obviously, having bought Drascombe Lugger, this is almost like one of the books about the Drascombe by a guy called Webb Childs. Again, famous name in sailing, and how he sailed. I think he sailed his lugger in a few places, but this was the one where he's kind of recreating the Captain Bligh mutiny sail, sailing across the you know, the Pacific. You know, eye-opening, this read, really eye-opening, and, you know, I could again thoroughly recommend it. If you've got a Drascombe, it's a must-read. I mean, you've got to read this book. Again, another really good one. So those are the sort of storybooks I've read this year. I'm going to move on now to a couple of random ones. First off is Glass Fibre and Epoxying Wood book. And this is actually by Blue G, who are quite a well-known epoxy resin brand. This is just to help me, you know, learn how to, you know, epoxy and glass fibre and do general repairs on my boats, or make things, you know, out of wood, glass fibre. So this has been a really good book. Really, it's got nice big letters, and it's really easy read, quite quick. You know, I don't think things change very much with glass fibering. You know, there's a few channels I also follow for glass fibre work which are really good, but this sort of gave me that sort of bedtime reading ability, and that's a really good book actually. I thoroughly recommend that. This was a really interesting book as well. Choosing and buying a yacht. I'm not buying a yacht at all, but actually just going through all of this teaches you so much about keel types, hull design, you know, sail plans, you know, capsizing, you know, here's like the, I think, angle of vanishing stability of boats. You know, it taught me so much about how to pick a seaworthy boat, why boats are made the way they are today, and why, you know, older boats are kind of more seaworthy. You know, so this was a brilliant book, and I really enjoyed reading this. I'll probably have to read it again come the time that maybe we move to a bigger boat, who knows. This moment I've got no plans on doing that, but you do have to keep, you know, you have to always think about the next one, you always do, and it's really good fun to do that. The other book I read was this one. So this was bought, the Annapolis Book of Seamanship. I bought this book because I'd done my Essential Navigation RYA course, and I wanted to just take it further at my own pace, and that's what this book kind of does. It's a lot more complicated. It goes into all kinds of things like sail care and repair, you know, tides. I mean, it's really, really deep. It's probably nearer in depth to the course I'm trying to get through now, which is the Day Skipper Theory course. And this book, haven't read it all. You know, some of it got a little bit complicated for me at that time, but I keep kind of coming back to this and referencing things and seeing what they think about certain things in here as well. So that's quite a good read, and another kind of book I go to. So the next category is more about sort of learning and reference books that I sort of have found quite useful and have found, you know, to be a good read, but also that I perhaps refer to them. So you will probably understand as I move on. The first two books I'm going to show you are these, and these are like the IMRE guides. I think they were £5 each. Well, you definitely got an offer for buying all three. I actually bought them when I was buying some charts, and they're really quite good books. You can read them in about half an hour. This one is about moon, this one's about tides, and this one is about tidal streams. They're not complicated, but they do give you a really good basic, you know, understanding of the moon and what its role is in, you know, in tides and sailing in general, you know. And actually, you know, it talks about neaps and springs and all that. Very well illustrated. I really enjoyed these three books. Would buy a more deep, complicated, larger book of these titles or other subjects if they brought them out. So I would definitely recommend those if that's what you're looking to learn. I've been looking at these. So this is actually a book I bought just to help me understand tidal streams a bit better. Now, I don't know if you can see that, and it gives you this hour by hour sort of reference to how fast and what direction the tides are going. And this is sort of local to me. This is Liverpool down here, and Barrow-in-Furness up here, and Anglesey here. You know, this is quite relevant to me, and it was really enjoyable just to, as I was doing my day skipper training, to actually refer to the actual water that is real, you know, the one that I'm gonna probably sail in first. So that was really good. Obviously this is NP5011. If you're gonna learn about charts, things like that, you probably need this book. This has got all the symbols, abbreviations, and everything really you need. Let's go find a really good, you know, about that you're likely to see on a Admiralty chart. So that's kind of an essential. You know, I did whiz through it, but it's more as a reference than anything else. Then I bought this. So it reads 2022 Nautical Almanac. So they talk about the almanacs when you do your training. And this covers subjects from weather, safety, and then goes into all the areas of England and has all that information that they teach you is in the almanac, yeah? So, you know, marina sort of locations, how to contact them, phone numbers, the channel the marina's on, the high and low water, you know, that sort of thing. They have all this for all the areas. Oh, actually, I didn't realise even North France, crikey, Central France. So everywhere, all along the channel as well. I didn't realise that, but it was worth buying that because when I'm doing all my training and they talk about the almanac, I didn't really have any reference really for it. So there's that. It's a big sort of telephone book size book, that. And I have referenced that probably more than I dare admit, but also I think I will reference it next season a lot more, and I'll be a little bit more ready and, you know, ready to use it. And then I bought supplemental things. This one is the Reed Small Boat Owner Small Craft version of the almanac. So it's very cut down, just the essential stuff. And you know, it's got all the tides here. Now this book, was this for the UK? Oh no, it is the UK and northern tides of Europe. I'm just checking to see if this has marinas in it. Oh, it does, yeah. Communications, marinas here. Weather, maybe not the depth of marina, but it does have channels, communication, stuff like that. It's the kind of book that you probably take on your dinghy with you, so you don't take that huge monster of a book. You know, you put that on one side of your dinghy and it's going to capsize it, but this one's quite a small sort of book size, sort of A5. To go with that, actually I bought the Reed's Marina Guide. Did I buy this or did someone give this to me now? This is got all the marina guides for, I'm sure this was for like Wales. Let's have a look. Oh no, it is a bit further beyond than that, but all the marinas. I actually bought this to have a look at exactly what marinas were knocking about the place. It's amazing what you find. You know, loads of information in here. Again, telephone numbers, photos, amenities, all kinds of websites, all kinds of stuff in there. And then to top this off, I got the Reed Skipper's Handbook, and this is like a very, very small, very kind of like revision book for all the little navigation things that you're going to need. And again, this was designed to, you know, to take with me on the boat. You know, and here's a good example. You know, you may just forget where cones and cans, you know, are red. You know, I remember these things like Red Stripe Lager is a can of lager and they're red, but is red on the port side or is green on the port side when you're going into a harbour? You know, well, you've got a little book that will just get you out of jail, you know. And this was a really nice little book. I've read this through and through, and it actually helps teach you and refreshes quite a lot of knowledge that you need. So that's another book that will go with me on the boat. And then the last but not least is Admiralty tide tables. These, anyone that's done any training on tides, these are amazingly useful, these charts, and you can find, excuse me, I'm so bunged up, but you can find wherever it is you are, and then you can use this data. This is just tide data for each date, and then you can reference that on these little tide tables. I would always recommend photocopying these, and then, you know, you can find out, you know, when the low tide is, the latest time that you need to maybe leave an area because, you know, otherwise you might run out of water. You know, and you know, first glance are a bit of a pain to do these, but actually when you get the hang of them, they are an amazing tool. I mean, you know, if you've got Navionics, you can just plug in you know, it does it all for you. But where's the fun in that? And what happens if you've not got Navionics and you know, you need your general knowledge? So, you know, this is a book that, yeah, I mean, look, it's crazy boring kind of looking book, but when you delve into it and when you are sailing, you know, that is essential. And you know, you'd have that, I think I'd have to take that with me on the dinghy when I go cruising as well, because it's so useful to know where the tides are. Obviously don't want to get caught out by tides, things like that. So anyway, you know, that's my kind of, they're the books. There were a few other books that I read, but there were more about, there was one that was all about trailer sailors, and it categorises all the boats you can buy from like 16 feet up to 24 feet, but they're all trailerable, and I think most of them were lifting keel. So again, it's just a fun book. The reason I bought that book was I was seeing all these boats on Lake Bard. I didn't know what they were, and now I kind of do know what they are. And you learn about them, how good they are, how seaworthy they are, you know, and it gives you a really good idea of, you know, again, what boat maybe you'd buy next, you know. It's just great fun. I've lent that book to a friend, so that's why I've not got it. But that deserves a mention as well. So, yeah, that's it. I do apologise for my 3D printer buzzing away in the background. It's just non-stop at the moment, but it's actually making gunnel clips for Lulu the lugger at the moment, but there's such long prints that the printer's going all day. But I hope that hasn't detracted from the video. I hope that helps you. If you want to discuss a book, I'm here. I'm always interested in sharing, swapping, you know, and all that. Oh, one last little PS before we go. If you remember the Drascombe forum, and I'm pretty sure the Dinghy forum as well, they both have libraries and you can borrow books from them if you remember. And I'm sure that's a free service. I think you have to pay a bit for postage, and that's that. But I have found, especially the Drascombe forum has got loads of books that are just out of print and you just cannot find them anywhere. So, you know, those forums, if you really are trying to find a book, those forums not only have a library, but if you post a question in those forums, there's always someone that's got the book, or you know, or knows where to get it, you know. So they're really useful as well for finding books. So I hope you enjoyed this post. I will be coming at you soon with some new boat projects just to get Lulu ready for the next season. Hopefully the weather will break soon. We'll be able to get the epoxy out, so that'll be a bit more fun. And then, you know, looking to start the season early, get as much sailing in as we can. So keep thinking about the sailing, keep dreaming about the sun, and we'll be there soon. Bye bye.